Welcome everybody to the Making Awesome podcast. I got to put the stunt double in their place. This is season 3, episode 21. We're going to be talking all about quality control and why it is a bigger thing than, well, than what most people think, right? I've dealt with quality control recently, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about my issues with quality control. We're going to talk kind of all about the stuff. But before we do that, I need to do something. Because we are setting up a recording thing to do more content, and I have it set incorrectly. All right, now it's good. I have my video non-reversed. And I'm like, oh, my face is looking in a weird direction. Oh, it's so weird. But welcome everyone to the chat. We got Exodus. We got Mad Cat USA for 6 months on the membership. Thank you, sir. Got Black Canyon Model Works saying hi, Grant and everybody. Stockport Slayer says hello, everyone. Spurlux here saying howdy. Spurlux says, Grant, right about the bamboo. Yeah, that's going to happen at some point in here. So if you guys are here for the Grant rants specifically about bamboo, we're going to get into it. But to be clear, this is not just going to be about bamboo. We've got problems with prusa. I've got some problems with some filament that we've had in the past. I want to talk about QC in an overall thought process, and then I want to dive deeper into it. Because I think that's really, really important for us to understand what quality control is and then get deeper into the actual subject of it. Savvy515 says, 3rd week in a row making it, just got home from work. Thanks for showing up on a Sunday. Daniel England says, hello. We got 3D Printy in the chat. JT3D says, hello all. And got a bunch of people here hanging out. Of course, if you guys are here hanging out, make sure you're subscribed. Leave a like if that's your kind of thing. And if you're listening back audio only, rate if that's a thing on the podcast app that you're watching on. I don't know what to say for those. We're live on YouTube, though. We hang out here. So if you want to come over, we do this thing every weekend live on YouTube. So come over, take a look. Greatly appreciate all of that. But yeah, QC is an interesting thing. Right? So quality control is all about the products that you are shipping. Whether you are a hobbyist that is doing, pieces here and there for friends and family, or you're a big business that needs to get parts out to clients, or you're a manufacturer where consumers buy parts from you. Whether that's materials, whether that's printers, parts, equipment, whatever it might be. If you have a quality control issue, you have to deal with it immediately, because that issue becomes systemic very quickly. Now, I'm not saying that any of the issues that we're going to talk about today are systemic. I want to be very clear. But they are issues that certainly have affected more than just myself. And while I'm not mad about what's happening with bamboo, I'm disappointed. So let's again get into QC as a whole. Right? Quality control is about the products that you send out. And as a consumer, it's about the products that you bring in. So those of you that have gotten a spool of filament before, if that filament's ever been wet and it was wet from the factory, that's a QC issue. Do I have it handy? I do. This is actually what wet filament looks like. Take a look at all the dots and marks there. Ignore the crazy amount of cat hair that's on it. But you see all the pops and bubbles and stuff all here? That is actually wet filament. Then I dried it out some, and you can see it gets better. This is not a well-tuned part, so grain of salt, that one for sure. But I do keep it around because it is a good describer of wet filament. That was a sealed spool of filament from the manufacturer. And I dried it out. It was no big deal, but that part is ruined. I cannot sell that part. Never did sell that part. And I reached out to Printed Solid because it was a Printed Solid roll of Just EP ETG. So I reached out to Printed Solid and let them know the batch number, because all the spools have a batch number on them. I said, hey, this is the batch of a spool that I got. It was wet from the factory. I just want to let you guys know in case this was a systemic issue that happened on more than just my run. They offered to replace the filament. It's no big deal. I had already dried it. the profit margins on those parts, I really didn't care. It was more of the time loss that we had involved with it. But that was proper customer service, right? As soon as they saw the complaint, they reached out and said, "We're totally sorry this happened. Let us replace the spool for you." And I think they'd asked for this one back. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I forget if they asked for it back. It's irrelevant either way because I don't think I ever sent it back because I ended up just drying it out myself. But I sent them the batch number so that they could do an investigation if they have any of it on their shelves to see, all right, what happened here. That is proper QC issues, right? What I'm going through with Bamboo, let's talk. It was a PETG Ostrike. And PETG is more susceptible to water ingress, to be clear. It is a hygroscopic material where PLA is a little bit easier. Hilariously, I am printing some parts for a video that I'll be filming later today, and that filament is a little damp, and you'll see it. You actually see it because it's stringy. I have the temperature all the way down to 180 C, and it is still stringy. But yeah, it looks and sounds like Rice Krispie treats. That's you can hear the popping and the hissing, and often you'll see some steam coming off of the part because that is the water instantly boiling and creating that little cavitation bubble that you see. 3D Printing said, I had a roll of printed solid that came with a 4mm blob on the line, and they made good on it immediately. Huh. Now, I've been to Printed Solids factory, so I know they have, like, laser measurement stuff. I'd be really curious to see how that got through. But, it happens, right? Problems happen, and it is up to companies to handle it a certain way. So let's first talk about identifying a QC issue. The best thing that you can utilize to identify a QC issue is upfront inspection. Now, you can't inspect everything. It's just not physically possible. And I totally forgot to start recording on Zoom, so let me go ahead and do that. Sorry, that is something that I should have done, and I totally didn't do it. I'm like, I think I'm forgetting to do something. Yes, you ding-dong, you're forgetting to record on the one platform that you actually record on. Oh, man, some days I'm off my game, and I guess today is one of those days. And you know what? Let me try also recording in OBS and see what happens. That might be fun. Will my computer allow it? It does. Is my computer pissed off? No, it's not. Cool. All right. Black Canyon Model Works says, 3D Musketeers, I know this is off topic, but you think you will do a video about the new prusa slicer and specifically the organic supports? So I'm printing a Benchy behind me with organic supports for a video I'm going to be filming later today, and I think that should give you an answer to your question. So there is a video planned called 10 Things I Love and Hate About My Bamboo X1 Carbon, because there are things I do actually like about it. I know, much to you all's dismay, apparently. But I do have a massive QC issue with my printer. The magnets continue to fall out of the tool head, and no matter what I've used to glue them in, it doesn't matter. It's a real pain in the ass. Zolan says there's an OBS plugin that will let you record specific sources so you can have it without an overlay if you want. I would be curious to take a look at that, but it's not immediately important at this point. So I have a vertical setup in OBS right now as well that is doing a 2-minute back recording. So it records every 2 minutes and then it just burns the recording every time. And when I say something that I think is good that we can turn into a short form piece of content, I will click the button and it will save the previous 2 minutes of my talking. And then it goes to Andrew, our editor, who takes care of it from there. But I might be interested in it, Zolan. If you know my Discord handle, DM it to me there. If not, shoot it over to me on Twitter. Because you guys can't post links in this chat because that's how shit gets out of hand fast. So Spurlock asks, what's Bamboo said? I have had a staff member at Bamboo admit that I likely have a lemon. And when they said that they can push for a replacement, I said, I am okay with that as long as this is something that you would do for anybody, not just because I have an audience, right? This is like kind of the first time where I'm like, are they doing this because this is normal protocol, or are they doing this because they're afraid of what I might say? And I have parts coming in, which is the TLDR of that statement. Now, I will say, I've got all the boards here and the cable for the tool head, which I was not expecting. I was expecting the one board that I needed to fix my tool head. They sent me an entire tool head's worth of boards. So that's a thing that I am interested in taking a look at. So we'll be maybe getting some photos of that for everybody when we do the video, because I am really stepping up the game when it comes to B-roll, and I hope you all have seen that. It is very difficult for me to do because it hurts my back to hold a camera like that, but I got you just for y'all. Yeah, so I wanted to make sure, and instead I now have a back housing coming in, and that will be a future live stream for that printer where we completely tear it apart on stream and fix it on stream, which means I'm probably going to get made fun of, and I don't really care. But the amount of hate that I get in videos where I talk about the issues I've had with my bamboo is astounding. And it shows the toxicity that is currently in that community. And let's talk about quality control in that bit. Right? Quality control extends into your industry as well. And if you have people in your community that are just being jerks, you need to remove them quickly. Right? I call our Discord server a group of degenerates. And of course, that is at the $10 tier higher on Patreon. But it's because we just like having a little bit of fun. And they know to be on their best behavior right out in public and all that because they're human. But it's when people's rage and fanboyisms turn into incredible toxicity in communities is where I find it to be something that pushes me away rather than draws me in. And that's what I'm currently experiencing with Bamboo Lab. But there's a way that they can fix it. So when we look at what the community is doing, right? I have been doxxed. I have been called out. There's so many other things that have happened in that community, made fun of, personal attacks, and that kind of stuff. And I've let a lot of it go because I recognize that it is a couple of bad apples, and I know that Will is finally reining everything in. But that doesn't mean that my experience with that community has been good, right? But the Voron community was just the same. They had the same problems early on. And I talked very frankly with Adam from the Voron community. I guess he's one of the founding members or whatever. All about that, right? Because I said, dude, what the hell was going on with your community? He said, you're right, you're right, you're right. And he said, this was a few years back. I said, I know it was a few years back, but that doesn't stop me from feeling apprehensive about building a Voron because of how the community has treated myself and others previously. He said, we've got it taken care of. I promise you. I said, okay, I trust you. I have his model too. By the way, we scanned him at IRF. By the way, if you got scanned at the East Coast Rep Rap Festival, I have all your files. I posted it on Twitter and nobody reached out to me. So either none of you all read my damn Twitter or something. So if you got scanned at the East Coast Rep Rap Festival, you need to reach out to me because I have all of your data ready to go and I will send it to you. I just need to know that you want it because otherwise I'm not going to waste the time to do it. But yes, as Asker is saying, Tom 3D had the same problem with the Voron community. And I know he did because Tom and I have talked about it. So yeah. Oh yeah, and if you guys do have links that you need to post for whatever reason, Mad Cat is here hanging out as one of the mods. If you have links to him, you can go ahead and, send it to him. XOSA says most of the Bamboo fanboys can't even afford one. I wouldn't say that. I think a lot of the people that have Bamboo printers that love them have had amazing experiences with them. And that's something to point out when it comes to quality control. You might have a customer that is vehemently... Is that the right word? Let me redo that. You might have a customer that is a crazy fanboy of your product in all of the good ways. And that's amazing. But you have to make sure that that fanboyism doesn't turn into toxicity. And you as a creator of the things can sit there and say, well, they'll just police themselves. Or you can get ahead of it and say, hey, just to be clear, I know you like the product, but nothing is impervious to failure. So let's, quell the problems here real quick and not make fun of the person for it. That's a big thing. That's getting ahead of it with a little bit of marketing and QC and I guess community damage control, if you will. And when we look at that, right, Bamboo has obviously slipped. Prusa has slipped in some ways as well, right? But they actually have the exact opposite. They've got people that just absolutely hate them, and you all know who I'm talking about. They might call me a sock puppet or some other things that are just really not okay to say about people. For reference, just not okay to say that about people, because I actually have photos with Joe Prusa, and he's a really nice guy. Spent some time with him at Printed Solid. But, and do not mention that individual's name in the chat. We're not here to give them more publicity, you know, just to be clear. You know, so there are both sides, right? And the arguments are always, well, both sides are bad. Well, yes, they can be. They can be. And it's okay to admit that both sides have problems, right? But Prusa is not immune to QC issues either. Those of you that remember the last time they released a product, which would have been the Mini, they very quickly iterated to the Mini Plus. The Mini Plus replaced the Minda sensor with a Super Pinda sensor, okay? The Minda or Finda sensors are the same ones that are used in the MMU-2S, but not the same ones used in the Mark III's. And I don't know why Prusa did that. My assumption was that they had a backstock of some sort of these extra sensors, and they decided to put it on the Mini. But the big problem is it didn't compensate for temperature. And that meant if your bed was hot, whether it was a little too cold or a little too hot versus what your printing temp was, your first layer wouldn't work right. So Prusa iterated. But Bamboo has done the same. And I know this because I printed a part to fix my Bamboo without recognizing that it was already fixed from the factory. A lot of you know the Bamboos were plagued early on with the fans falling off because the auxiliary part fan was just stuck on with some double-sided tape. They made an iteration to their injection mold. And let me be clear, that is really expensive. It is really, really expensive to change an injection mold. That means you have to pull it off of the line, or you have to make a new one. And then when you pull the one off the line, you have to then make all of your adjustments to it without screwing anything up. Because if you do, you have to scrap that entire mold and start over again. That's a problem. Right? And so companies won't normally do that kind of thing because it's a pain in the ass. They'll just say, oh, we'll Band-Aid it. And the community Band-Aided it for Bamboo. There is a printed part that you can put in and the fan sits on top of it and the fan doesn't vibrate away. Great. That was the first thing that I printed without knowing that Bamboo had actually iterated. So if you have Bamboo and you have it with the sticked on fan, let me know and I'll just send you the part. I don't, as long as you're in the US, I'm not going to ship it overseas. But if you're in the US and you have a Bamboo with that problem, let me know. I'll just ship you the part because it just sits here. So yeah, like, and to be clear, right, I am kind of hounding on these two because there is an expected level of performance at a certain price level, right? When I buy a $200 Ender 3, I am not expecting it to print like a Prusa, like a Bamboo, like a Stratasys. I am not going to compare an Ender 3 to a Fortis because, well, that's just dumb, right? That's just completely dumb. They're not the same machines. I know people have actually done that, and I would argue that the Fortis was probably just bone stock tuning and the Ender wasn't. Because they said, oh, our Ender 3 printed better than our $250,000 Fortis. I don't care. I don't care. To be very clear, I don't care. And that's okay. I'm allowed not to care, right? Real Sam Prentice says, Bam who? Oh, man. Hey, Sam, how you doing, buddy? Dude, DM me. I have your scan. You didn't see my tweet about it like 2 weeks ago. I have your scan. DM me on Twitter with an email and I'll send it to you. Anyways, but it is all about how you handle that QC issue, right? If you can't get it taken care of in-house, you have to effectively wait for a customer to have a problem with it. And that happens to the absolute best of us, right? Problems get passed. Even I've shipped bad parts from time to time, but I've learned what it looks like, what bad parts look like, and say, this doesn't pass the smell test. But in the event that something does get past us and there is an issue, hey, send me a photo of what it looks like. Did the part break? Send me a photo of it so I can see. And as long as we can see that it is a defect in our process, we will replace it, without any question any further and just completely pay for it. I have an experience with this. I did a part for a customer. It was for a powerboat, for a door on that powerboat. Recent customers, and maybe he watches these videos. And I messed up. And I did not measure it. I was running late to a meeting, and I just grabbed his parts to go with me, and I forgot to do my QC on it. There were 2 holes in his part, and the one that I had printed, the holes were not in the same place. And so it just didn't work. And he, months later, I guess, finally went to install them and said, hey, these don't fit. And I said, what's going on? He's like, here, this is the real part. This is the one that you gave me. I'm like, oh, shit, that's a problem. I said, if you can bring me back the good part, I'll adjust your model, I'll reprint them for you, and I will deliver them free of charge. He's like, no, I want to pay you for your time. I said, no. You can't pay me for my time because this is my fault. And that means I have to be the one that fixes it for you. I'm totally fine if, that's a respect thing. He respects that my time has value to it. But as a business owner that made a mistake, I need to show him that I respect him, right? That is the huge thing about quality control. It's not just about the problem. It's about how you deal with it. It's about listening to what people have to say and making changes. If you have a product and someone says, this isn't right, and someone else says, this isn't right, this isn't right, this isn't right, maybe it's time to start listening. If it is just someone and you only hear it from one person, take it under advisement, but maybe don't make a $30,000 change. If you have dozens of people telling you that the same thing happens over and over again, maybe, just maybe, it's time to make that change. And to be clear, Bamboo kind of did that, right? They heard the problem with the fan, they adjusted it, and now it's not a problem anymore. So, at the end of the day, there's 2 different ways that we can look at these things. And I see there's a lot of the Toyota Master Race in the comments, right? Because the old Toyota Corollas are pretty much indestructible. It's like the Hilux for Americans because their motors really only break in at about 150 to 200,000 miles. Your frames will generally rust out before the motors do. And I have an old VTEC Honda, an 02 Accord. Same deal, right? Those motors are known to go for hundreds of thousands of miles. The transmissions, however, are made of glass and are known to get destroyed. So I change my transmission fluid twice a year, no matter how many miles I drive, because I need that fluid to be fresh all the time, because that transmission's at 172,000 miles. I see we got some more people hanging out. We got the real Sam Prentice. Damn it, it's Karen, the only Karen that I still associate with these days. We got Aw Strike. I think I said you earlier, though. Rolex is here as well. Hey, Rolex, how you doing, buddy? And, Allison's here as well, waiting for the cat to appear. The cat was sleeping in her other cat bed, so maybe she'll come in later when she realizes I'm not there anymore. She is just very much stuck to me. And those of you that have the old Mercedes diesels, you all know what I'm talking about. XOSA says 640,000 kilometers on a Tundra. Damn! That's a lot of miles. Filament Frenzy's here as well. Hey, dude. This video had to have gotten into a Bamboo Facebook group by this point. How you doing, Frenzy? Nice to see you here, dude. We are talking all about quality control and why it is such a big deal. And I'm at a point where I understand that no company is infallible, right? I've seen Prusa ship out hot ends that have melted, motherboards that don't work. And I will say, I know at least one person that has had to fight Prusa to get a motherboard. And that's not that big of a deal. And I understand why Prusa is not so willing to give those out immediately, but from what I saw, the person really did demonstrate their knowledge and demonstrated that they understood what was going on with that machine and understood that it was a motherboard issue. We knew some people, the people were contacted, the person was taken care of. But that shouldn't have happened, right? So that, to me, while it is a QC issue, that's also a bit of a fail on the side of the support team. Now, again, every support member is different, right? Whether you're submitting a ticket and you're waiting for that ticket to get back. Like the tickets that I've submitted with Bamboo, it has never been the same person every time, right? It has been a different person every single ticket that I've submitted. And, you know, I will say, I think I've gotten pretty decent answers. It just wasn't the speed that I was hoping for, right? With Prusa, you get like 10 to 15 minute response times. With Bamboo, it's been a day or two. And yes, there are some expectations, right? Prusa commits to a 24/7 customer support. And I think that's 364 days they were live last year. Maybe it was a little bit less than that. But they commit to a pretty serious level of customer support that is pretty much a loss. It's going to be a loss for them. I would say it's a loss leader, but I'm pretty certain printables cost them more money than their support team. And that's because of the Prusa meters. But I'm not 100% sure on that. You know, take that for whatever grain of salt that you want. I, though, have had amazing experiences with Prusa's customer support. I've never needed a new motherboard, and if I did, I keep a spare on hand, right? That's a business thing. Any of the parts that are kind of, if you don't have this, you can't run your printer, I keep them on hand. Printed parts, I'm not going to deal with those because I can just print more of them. But I do keep fan shrouds in stock. I keep Prusa fan shrouds in stock out of polycarbonate, PC ABS. I think we have some out of carbon fiber nylon as well. So I have them in different materials depending on what we are printing. You know, there's some stuff to it. Travis Albert says, my MK3S main board failed 3 weeks. The main screed failed 2. After getting a new main board, service was fantastic both times. Yeah, and as Filament Frenzy says, there is no customer support in the 3D space like Prusa. They certainly got that dialed. It's true. And Bamboo is trying. To give them all the credit in the world, they are constantly hiring more salespeople. And that's wrong thing to say, Grant. Service people. They're hiring more service people. I need to hire salespeople. They're hiring service people. And I don't know if they're successful in that, but there are job listings pretty much in every, major time zone that they deal in so that they can bring on more support individuals and be able to answer tickets faster. Because I know I'm not the only one with problems. So let's talk about the things that I've dealt with on my Bamboo. We'll talk about things I've dealt with on my Prusas, and let's talk about where that lands in quality control. With the Bamboo, I have gotten 6 different clogs on cold ends. I've gotten 3 extruders that have had problems that I've needed to replace. Good thing I keep spares on hand. I've dealt with the magnets falling out of my tool head now for the 4th time. And I've dealt with having to tear apart the entire AMS. But that was a QC issue on part of Polymaker, not on a QC part of Bamboo. And I will say, as someone that runs printed solid material pretty much exclusively these days, I am only mildly miffed that I had to print special rings for them that we did design. So this one I designed from scratch, fits on both of the printed solid spools, and I'm excited because that will be coming out in a video. And as Sam says, he thinks I got a lemon. And yeah, so does some of the Bamboo people. But we're not willing to give up on it just yet. I would like to try to replace the back cover and see if the issue still persists. But I did have another clog last night. And I've printed the tool that the hot end goes into that you can stab the Allen key into to clear the clog. And that works great. But I shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't have to do that. Right? Like, even clone V6s still work pretty damn well when you compare them to a real V6. This is the clone V6. This is a real V6. This is a V6 with a hardened nozzle X, copper block, titanium heat break. This is a completely fake V6. This one's just easier to show on camera, but I keep them both handy because I use them as, props in videos, and I know where my spare hot ends are. These are not the only spare V6s that I have. I love it. We're getting lemons in the chat right now, but here's the thing. When life gives you lemons, you either use lemon law or you make lemonade. As a content creator, it's actually somewhat beneficial that my machine hasn't worked great because it lets me learn more about it very, very quickly. To replace the boards on the tool head is a non-trivial level of work. Like here, I'm going to open up one of these boards so you guys can see it. They're relatively involved and require pretty small, screws and all that. But this is the back tool head board on the bamboo. And you can see it's got some conformal coating on there. But yeah, like, that's a lot of processing. And I did not expect this to come in the mail. I only expected the one part that I needed. So props to them for sending everything. This just goes into spare parts. But again, right? It comes down to what that looks like. In terms of prusa, what have I had? I think really the only major issue that I've had with a prusa, I had one come with a bad bed thermistor from the factory, which really wasn't a big deal. I had spare ones in stock, and they just replaced my inventory. And then I had a mini that came with a bad filament sensor. And I got a really interesting ask from the support guy. He said, can you go test all of your other minis? I hadn't built all my minis at that point. He said, can you go test all of your other mini filament sensors and make sure none of the other ones are broken? Because before we send out the package to you, I want to make sure that you're getting all of the parts you need rather than just the one that you know is bad. I'm like, okay, that's a legitimate reason. And something that I don't think I would have tried without them asking me to. So like that was a support person that actually gives a damn. And I am all for it. Noobs fan sub says, let's not get Grant worked up about lemons like Cave Johnston in Portal. I've not played Portal in so long, I forget that reference. And as Phil Manfrey says, it saves them on shipping too. That's right, because the thing with prusa is they ship from the Czech Republic to Florida in 2 days. I got my replacement parts in 2 days. Like, Amazon doesn't always deliver to me that fast. And that's insane, right? That's customer service like you've never seen. I put in my request for a replacement rear cover for the bamboo on Wednesday or Thursday. It is apparently going to ship out Monday, which sucks because I have an event on Wednesday that the bamboo needs to go with me to, because it is specifically been requested for this event. And I am going to have to tape the tool head on. And I don't like that because that's not what I expect to have to do with a $1,500 printer. Filament Frenzy says, my first prusa was a lemon. That's how I met Shane. No joke. I met Shane because I went up to the Villages to meet him when he was still living in Florida. And no joke, I laughed at this because his neighbor was watching us just hang out and talk in his tidy whities. Just the neighbor was just standing in his window, nothing but underwear on. I'm like, all right, this is weird, but it's the Villages, so you expect it to be that weird. Daniel Cross says, at the makerspace at university, we had a broken blower fan. We upgraded to a Revo, so we ordered the fan from Caribou 3D because it was less work from us. Yeah, I feel that. Also, right with the $5 super chat says, funny enough, the ideas for Kaizen, continued improvement, etc., came from American W. Edwards Deming, but Japanese manufacturing took his ideas more seriously. Huh. Oh, came from the American W. Edwards. I don't know much about this. I'm sorry. Huh. And I don't know Kaizen. I know there's a 3D printer with the name around Kaizen. Right? Is that what that project is called? I'm going to go check it. No, that's Kralin. Sorry, that's the guys behind the positron. My bad. But this is all suffice to say that problems like this are not impervious to anybody. I don't care if you're Prusa, Bamboo, Creality, Sovol. I don't care. I'm getting an Investopedia link. So let me click it and see. Kaizen is a Japanese term meaning for the better or continuous improvement, which serves as the basis for a Japanese business philosophy. All right, cool. Thanks, Madcap. Basically, fix and improve processes. I'm all down for that, right? If we don't look at improving what we are doing every single day, we are set to fall behind. If we as a company cannot improve our processes, procedures, protocols, and people, we are not able to continue as a company. If we can't work with our staff members to be better every single day, and I can't work with myself to be better every single day, then we will cease to exist in no time flat. Oh, that was a good one. That was a cut down. That's being a cut down. Let's go. So Japanese Kaizen to Kaizen. Yeah, they did, right? Like, when you look at steak knives, you look at, other than Wusthof, because Wustofs are some of the best in my opinion. You can fight me in the chat on that. I don't own any Wustofs because I can't afford that shit. But they're like $200 a knife. But they're amazing knives. Japanese steel quality is something that most people look at and say, yeah, that's superior steel. Why? Because it's better. It's just better, right? American manufacturers were complacent, especially in the auto industry. Let's talk about complacency. Let's talk about that. So we've seen Prusa pretty much ride a wave of the same thing just continues to work over and over and over again. And then Bamboo hit the market. And now all of a sudden Prusa is likely pushing development of their new products a little faster. It wouldn't surprise me if they were, right? Because now they recognize that there's now a new challenger, right? Let's be real. Creality is never going to have a product that directly competes with a Mark III's or a Mini. They're just not going to, right? They have the Ender 2, which is not a Mini. It's missing so many components to compete with a Mini. But they're never going to have something that competes with a Mark III's, ever. It's not in their blood. Creality makes affordable 3D printers, right? That's what they do. But all of a sudden, this competitor has come on the market. And Prusa recognizes that an 8-bit board and a 5-year-old printer, while they work great, the age is felt. The age is absolutely felt. I love my Minis, to be clear. Like Filament Frenzy, Mini is his favorite printer. I love my Minis, but I love my Mini with the Revo way more than I love my other Minis. I'm sorry, don't tell my other Minis. Shh, don't tell them. That's just, that stays between us. None of you heard that over there. Shh. They're plotting to fail Prince. I can feel it. And as Mad Cat says, Soval, right? Soval has pretty much come after the Mark III's platform. And I like my Soval SV06s. They run like Swiss watches. They run beautiful prints. But they lack a filament sensor. And honestly, the location of their storage is just terrible. The micro SD card on the back side of the printer is such a pain in the ass to get to that I hate it. I absolutely hate it. We'll have a video on that as well at some point. Joel Driver says, you made me think of the Ginsu knife commercial from the late 80s. It slices, it dices. It's basically Fruit Ninja, but it's a commercial. And Mad Cat says, dude, Octoprint. I don't want to deal with Octoprint. Not just because it leaves open ports on my network, but because I don't have the time. But on Sound says, all right, Silvals is off my list. Yes, you could use Octoprint. What I opted to do is use a micro SD to SD extension cable. And it's a lot easier for me to grab that cable and click it in, then click it out, then click it in. It makes it free. It makes it easier. But I will say I haven't had any QC issues with that printer. Now, I only have 2 of them. So take that with a grain of salt. I have 13 Prusas total, 9 Mark III's, 4 Minis. And they're pretty good, right? Now, mind you, there's a Prusa Mark III's that I don't use. It is awaiting an upgrade for 3DQ because I want to see what it looks like to turn a Prusa into a true farm printer where it is printing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, the same parts over and over and over and over and over again. And if you can't figure out, it's going to be politician parts. JT3D says, my minis get the most use as I'm mostly printing small parts in one color. The MK3S gets fired up when I'm printing something bigger that needs to print in a color that isn't loaded in my minis. It's true. Filament Frenzy says more printers beat a faster printer to some extent, right? If you're doing one big model, then you kind of have to use the printer that it fits in. But if it's multiple pieces that can be broken up into components, like I made these little clips, found them on printables, grabbed them. I've now cable managed the microphone clip for my microphone. Love that. I had a print running on one of my machines, so I just threw these on there. Why? Because I was already running a print, and I said, oh, what the hell, I'll just toss them in there. And they came out great. No issues at all. But had I put one of these on every single one of my printers, they would have been done faster than it was on the single machine. So that is something to be aware of. But not everyone has the space for more than one printer. And that's where QC can bite you in the ass, right? For me as a business, if I have a printer go down, it is very easy for me just to switch to another printer, right? Unless I only have one of them. Bamboo. And I feel like I gave them enough time, but maybe I didn't do enough research to figure out that there were QC issues. I thought a lot of them were really down to people screwing up, but in reality, I kind of know what I'm doing. And I've had a lot of problems with that machine. So, I don't know. Shotgunner 5609 says you could use an offline router, set up a separate local network. We have thought about that, and I have an old mesh network that I could use. I'm just not at a point where I want to deal with any of that crap right now. For right now, all of our printers, except the one back here that runs time-lapse, are all completely off network. I go up to them, put an SD card, manually load the filament, because that is more efficient for me than it is to trust a networked printer, right? I want to look at that first layer. I want to make sure it's good. Again, QC issues that I do to make sure that the parts that we do look good, right? Because if the first layer doesn't look good and I don't notice it, that's on me, and I got to reprint the part. If I just send it to a printer and I don't know that the print bed is dirty because I don't know if it was cleaned, I now have a potential failure mode in my QC, quality control. Spurlux says, Prusa Slicer 2.6 Alpha lets you cut a model and add pegs and holes to line up the assembly. It does, and I'm trying that out next. That's my next print. Filament Frenzy says, I also hate building printers. That's the biggest thing Bamboo changed in the market for me. A lot of people want to open a box and print. I would love to have done that, but it was a pain in the ass for me. But it's also because those printers shipped with outdated firmware that I was not willing to put my printer on my network during a live stream. So, but on Sad says, I would like to see a video that breaks down all the parts of an FDM printer, like a newbie start video, maybe a follow-up video, like test print these first before anything else kind of in. All right. Yeah. Mad Cat or someone that's got access to the Discord, put that in as a video topic idea, because we can definitely do that. Definitely do that. Ruin says, hello, love your live streams and videos. Thank you for showing up. Daniel Cross says, yesterday Nero 3D had to reprint a part for the V0.2, and he printed it on the Bamboo Lab because it's easier to switch the filament. But heck, it took long to start the print. Yeah, it takes about 7 minutes to start a Bamboo print because of all the vibration stuff that it has to go through. I would like if there was a way that I could say, look, the printer hasn't moved. Use the same shit that you used last time. It'll be fine. But yeah, I normally do 1 or 2 prints with that flow calibration, then I just turn it off because it's saved it to that filament. I do actually like the AMS in that I could just say, oh, I want to print an ABS today. So I just load ABS because I have an ABS roll. I have 2 PLAs and have a PETG in my AMS right now. That is actually pretty convenient. I love the AMS is awesome. It is the extruder side that I don't like on the Bamboo. And Bamboo has dealt with the blob at the end of the filament by having that filament cutter, but I think that is a Achilles heel to that printer, because if you get a jam in your extruder or you get a jam in your cold end, the machine will go to cut the filament to unload it. So the jam just stays there. I would like it to recognize that there's a jam and allow me to pull it out of the AMS or out of the back of the printer manually. So, as Ostrek says, waiting 7 minutes to start a print is a first world problem. Dude, I remember printers that would take 20 minutes to heat a bed to 60C, okay? Right? Or when you're printing ABS and you got to wait 30 minutes for the ambient temperature around the printer to come up so you can print with it, right? Like, these are all things that we dealt with back in the early day, not things that we should be dealing with now. Thank you, sir. Thank you for posting it to the Discord. But Luce, that's what I've been using my MMU2 for mostly. It's to have different filaments ready. Yeah, that's true. Mormus asks how my X1C experience is so far. I know you had some issues initially. It has not been great. We're going to talk about it in an upcoming video, but there will be an upcoming live stream where I do some maintenance on that printer because it's going to need it. It just straight up needs it. So all right, let's get back onto subject because we could go about this shit all day because I know you all support the Grant rants. So there's a difference between QC for businesses and consumers. Right? As a business, my need for something to work perfectly is way higher than that of a consumer. And in the age of Amazon, right? And I'm absolutely blaming Jeff Bezos on this. We have come to a point where if we can't get something in like 2 to 3 days, we're upset. When I was a kid, you waited 3 to 5 weeks for things to show up and you were thankful. I walked uphill both ways when I was in college. Never through the snow because it's Florida, but I did walk uphill both ways because I had to walk into a valley. And that means I walked downhill then uphill both times. So I am technically correct, which is the best time, or best kind of correct. And yes, as Badcat USA says, hey, 52 watching, 28 likes, hit that like button. Greatly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. And if you do want to join our Patreon, where you can come hang out with all the other members of our Patreon Discord, so that's the $10 tier higher. We'd love to have you. Come on over and hang out. But when we look at a business's need, a business needs things to work all the time, right? I want uptime as close to 100% as humanly possible. With our Prusas, well, uptime is a little bit different. I want reliability that is close to 100% as possible. With our Prusas, I've run damn near 99.999% success rate. And the failures, and that is machine failures. If we include personnel failures, it's like 99%. I do have failures every now and then. As a consumer, print failures are kind of expected. You expect to have to do some level of maintenance, right? You expect, and it is okay because you're a tinkerer. That's totally fine. But you do have to understand that your time is money. And a lot of hobbyists will look at it and say, well, I don't mind if I spend my time because I'm learning. And as a business, I say, I absolutely mind spending my time. I paid this much money for something. I need it to just work. And that's why service contracts exist. And I would love to see them happen on more prosumer level machines and have the availability to do such a thing. But the price points of these machines mean that you probably won't see it anytime soon. The service contracts enable you to have as much uptime as possible, but in turn cost a fair bit, and in cases like $1,500 printers, will cost more than the printer itself. So I'd love to see it, but it's probably not happening anytime soon. Sorry, I gotta make sure that I hit my my record things when I say something that I think is good. Yeah, and this is a tool versus a hobbyist project. As Joel Driver says, I am a business. I want it to be a tool because I am really the biggest tool of this company. All right. And you can take that for whatever you want to take it as. But I want my tools to work for me. I don't want to sit there and mess with it. If I want to sit there and mess with it, it's because I have chosen to do it as a therapeutic thing. I like to upgrade the Prusas to make them easier to service. I don't do it because it's a necessity. I don't think I've ever really tightened the belts on my Prusas. They'll let me know if they're too loose. So, Allstar says, if you're not paying $10,000, you're lucky if you can afford a robo call center. I don't know. You know, when I was running full color sandstone printers, and I still have one. If anyone is looking to buy one, it is very expensive. I'm looking to sell it for about $30,000, but they're 80 grand brand new. So, you know, it's a steal, really. When I was running those machines, if you wanted a service contract, which included somebody to come out and fix the machine for you, it was $9,000 a year. That included parts, labor, materials, all of that. It included everything that I needed to make sure that machine ran properly. The problem is the local service center might take 3 weeks to get out to me. And as a business, that's not an acceptable way to do things. I needed machines to have uptime. And if I only have one machine and that machine goes down for 3 weeks, I am hemorrhaging money. As a consumer, you can just go do something else and wait for parts to show up. It's no big deal. You're not relying on it. You might rely on it to keep your ADHD at bay, but you're not relying on it to make you money. If you do, it's a whole different ballgame. So looking at the differences, right? Pricing comes involved as well. As a business, I expect to pay a little bit more money for things, right? If I want to buy a prusa and I want to get it fast, I'll buy it from Printed Solid and I'm going to pay $100 tax on it. Why? Because that means I get it faster. If I want something now, I can pay the premium to get it now. And when there are times that I have jobs where I need more printers, I will be more than happy to pay close to double to get it faster because I know that the value of that machine goes beyond the job that I need it for. Now, that's not to say that you should sit there and extort businesses for money because they're in a need, but it means that if you can provide something at a slightly higher cost but give it to somebody faster, you will make sales that way. We know this. It's a fact. John Deere holding a $300,000 tractor hostage for 6 weeks for repairs, devastating. Yeah, farmers don't have 6 weeks to wait, and that's why they fought for right to repair. Seeing farmers learn programming to hack their tractors is truly the most 2023 thing in this world, right? And Asperlex's businesses do that. I know they do. I know they do. And I do that, right? If you come to me say that you need parts tomorrow, you're paying extra for it because that means I have to push you to the front of the line and explain to all my other customers why their parts are going to be delayed. That's just business, right? And if I wanted to get a printer fast, I'd order it from Printed Solid. Now, similarly, when I ordered my bamboo, I ordered it on December 22nd because they said they were closing on December 23rd and all orders made after December 23rd would be shipped in the new year. My printer was not shipped until the 9th of January and got to me on, I think it was the 13th that it got to me. And I did the stream on the 14th. Yeah, I think that's how I did it. I think. It took like 3 weeks for them to ship it because they had so much backlog they couldn't get to it. Now, as a business, that upset me. Oops, sorry. Hit the mic. As a business, that upset me because there was a promise made or a idea of a promise, and it wasn't kept, right? And I had a project that I needed to run on this machine, and I needed to run it pretty quickly. So I bought it thinking I would be able to run the parts. I wasn't. Thankfully, the client had a very flexible deadline, and I was able to get an extension and still be able to print it completely on the bamboo. I ended up actually printing parts of it on the Mark III's when the bamboo started failing on me for the first time very heavily because I had no choice. I was left with basically deliver a partially finished project or bring on the people that actually know what the hell they're doing. Ostrich says, in aerospace manufacturing, the amount wasted on expedited manufacturing and shipping is horrendous. It absolutely is. But when seconds matter and you have a budget, smoke them if you got them. And by network gear, I mean enterprise, not small office. And yeah, that's Sporlex talking about network gear. I can order a piece of network gear and wait 6 months for it to come in, or I can pay 2 to 3x the price and order on Amazon from the same company. Yep. That's totally true. Why? Because companies know that time is money. So how should you as a business deal with quality control issues? Well, I initially will start by reaching out to the company. If I get a response in the time that I'm looking for, great, we work through it. But I need them to understand that me as a business has different needs than me as a consumer. And I wish there were ways on companies to delineate whether you are a business or a consumer. I don't know if they can do that inside of a help ticket or a portal or something like that, but it would be nice. So as a business, I could look at even paying for priority support. But when that occurs, I expect the company to have some modicum of attention paid to me. As a business, when I find a QC problem in someone that I am buying from, I want them to take me seriously because I'm not just going to be someone that's going to threaten to leave a 1-star review. I'm going to be someone that comes with a solution, just like I've come with solutions to Bamboo about the problems on their machines that I found. Because if all you're doing is complaining about a problem and not providing a solution, you are actually part of the problem yourself. And I got a problem with that. Right? I've been accused of just complaining about things in the past without providing solutions. And while those were technically accurate for the video, they're not accurate for the recording. We cut out the solution because we needed to do it for time. And we definitely should not have done that. And that is a mistake that we all made. Duff says, me shakes fist at YouTube notifications. Well, Duff, I don't know. Follow me on Twitter or something. I'm knowing you're 40 feet off the ground working on something, listening to me. Philip Serenzi says, Grant complaining never. Hey, that's a pot calling the kettle black right there, my friend. At the end of the day, you can make statements all that you want as a business, but if you're not providing a solution to it, then I firmly do believe you are part of the problem. As a consumer, you are not expected to solve the problem. Right? That's what a consultant is for. As a consumer, it is your job to bring up the problem to the company, and then the company is to provide you with a solution. As a business, if I can come up with a solution myself and be able to save everybody in the situation time, money, resources, everything, then I will. And this has happened to me. Let's talk about it. This happened to me with the Bamboo. Gregory Pfeiffer here says, I'm late, but I have arrived. You're probably up too late playing Satisfactory. We both know that you were. Don't lie to yourself. Because we were all up too late playing video games. That's what we do sometimes, the Patreon server. So when the front cover of my Bamboo fell off and it took the magnets with it, I went to Will and I said, hey, how can we fix this, right? I even posted about it on Twitter. I said, this is ridiculous. This shouldn't happen. What do you guys suggest? I submitted a ticket. I made a post and I DM'd, right? So I went to the 3 resources that I know. I want people to see it. So I want to post about it because I don't want to hide my experiences with a company, good, bad, or indifferent. I went to Will so that we can try to handle it privately. And I submitted a ticket because that is the right way to do it. I'm just using my connections to maybe get a solution a little bit faster. And I said, I can super glue it in. I can epoxy it in. I can chemically weld it in. He said, let me reach out to my engineers and see what they say. I said, great, do that. And he came back with a glue called 502. 502 is super glue. It's just not readily available in the United States. I actually filmed an entire video fixing the Bamboo with super glue, and we will likely not be posting it because it didn't work. And I found out a problem, and I'm pretty certain this is correct, and I've spoken with Will about this a few times, and I've sent it to Bamboo. I believe whatever plastic they're using is expanding when it gets warm. When that chamber gets hot enough, that plastic expands. And this is my theory, because when everything is cold, I can't press the magnets back into place. It does not go into place. But when I heat the chamber up to above 40 degrees centigrade, I can easily push those magnets back into place. Every single time. They go right back into place, no problem, no issues. But now they're right on an edge where the printer thinks that the cover is off, but it's not. And I wish there was a way for me to just straight up turn that off, because my printer would work just fine if the cover would think that it's on. But it doesn't. So I have it taped on currently. It's not what I want to do, but I still want to use this printer and learn it. Because if I am going to produce content with it, I need to learn its quirks and understand it. I made some parts last night with stock settings, and it didn't look as great as I was expecting. I was expecting better, but hey, that's the way it goes. And as Baloo says, the front fell off. Yes, it knocked its own block off. Osric says, large customers should suggest solutions and yet give the supplier the flexibility to fix things their own way. I totally agree. And that's why when the Bamboo engineer came back and said super glue, against my own best judgment, I went ahead and did it that way. My future judgment will be to use JB Weld, because that shit ain't ever coming out if I JB Weld it. But if I don't follow the protocol and instructions from the manufacturer to fix the problem, and I create more problems, those problems are on me, not on the manufacturer. That is a big thing as a business that I understand that a lot of times consumers don't. But that's just the way the world works for me. Maybe I'm a little bit different that way. I don't know. You all will have to tell me. Give me just a second here. I need to look up something. Because I need to make sure that I am actually doing the cut downs that I need to. Before I get too deep into this. Just give me just a second because I did not do all that. John Olson says duct tape fixes everything. It's true. I could just duct tape it shut. Probably should have just done that. The problem with duct tape, and this is like a personal thing. Okay, it is doing exactly what I want. Beautiful. The problem with duct tape is that it leaves a residue. So I'm going to argue that gaff tape is better than duct tape. Just saying. Yeah, and so Dan says, but hopefully replicator is needed in I don't know what he's saying. Okay. Also says, yeah, plastic has like 10 times the thermal expansion of metal. But certain plastics have different expansion properties. I believe the cover of the Bamboo is some sort of polycarbonate blend because I've never seen it droop even during really hot prints. I've gotten that chamber well above 50C. I've reached a max of about 55C in that chamber, and that was printing ABS. I want that chamber to be as hot as humanly possible for ABS. It is much better, in my personal opinion. Film and Friends said, I saw many people get a clog on a Mini, put a Revo on it, and have more issues because they never fixed what was causing the clog, and they expect Prusa to support them with an aftermarket upgrade. Yep, they do. Because consumers have a different level of expectation. What they aren't doing is they're not fixing those brass couplers. I think that was such a oversight on Prusa. I really don't think those brass couplers belong on that printer. I prefer the standard Bowden connectors. And if Prusa wanted to do their own specific pneumatic couplers that hold a better tolerance, I would have been fine with that. But I think that is the Mini's downfall, are those brass fittings, because you can easily over tighten them, crush your PTFE tube, and cause issues. What is that in F for us Americans? That is something like 120, 130 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know, 50, let me see what 55C is. 55C to F. 131. So my guess was actually pretty close. I'll take it. I'm happy with that. But yeah, about 131 degrees Fahrenheit, which for PLA, way too hot. Like that's not good. ABS loves being that hot. It will print beautifully at those temps. But if you're running at the edge of your stepper motors or you're doing something like that, you will have overheating problems. So again, it's a QC thing, right? And Gregory Pfeiffer says, depends entirely if it's an amorphous or crystalline plastic. That's true. That's true. XOSA says deep creep is better than WD-40 because WD-40 is a water displacement material, not a lubricant. You can fight me on that because that's the actual fact. Sporlick says you can jump through the support hoops. This places the liability on them. Had support direct a tech to do something, causing a massive multi-million-dollar outage. Tech wasn't responsible. The support was. I agree with that. And that's why when the support from Bamboo said, hey, use 502. I didn't have 502. It was going to take a month for it to get in. I'm not waiting that long. It is cyanoacrylite. It is super glue. I will use the super glue that I have in stock. I have tons of different super glues. I used what I had. And it worked for a bit. But what we neglected to recognize is that the plastic expands, so you should do it when it's hot. Okay. Those are things that if we can build a wiki, and if I can work with Bamboo to solve that problem and build a wiki behind it, then hey, the next person that runs into this issue doesn't have the issue. Right? I dig that. Madcast says he prefers 3-in-1. XOSA says shampoo, conditioner, shaving cream. That's a guy's thing, right? Shampoo, conditioner, body wash, shaving cream. Might as well be cologne while you're at it. And as somebody with long curly hair now, yeah, I can't use that shit. It's so bad. It just strips all the oil from my hair and I end up like a frizz ball. Bill on South says shampoo, bald? Yeah, well, not yet. Not yet. Soon, but not yet. Soon TM is how a lot of this stuff goes, right? We all know that. So as a consumer, right, your expectation for QC is that, well, depending on who you've worked with, like if you worked with Creality, you get no expectation for it. You just have to work with Amazon. Amazon becomes the QC thing, right? When you have a problem, you send it back to Amazon instead of sending it back to the manufacturer because you probably bought it from Amazon. So you send it back to them and make it Amazon's problem. And then Amazon deals with the customer, which to some extent is actually pretty convenient as a consumer, right? Because you can get a new one in 2 days. So by the time you've done your return, you've got another one in the mail already. And if you do it correctly, you can order the new one before you take your return back, and then you just get a refund rather than a replacement. And as Baloo says, please be kind of support. Even though they sometimes are annoying and ask the same questions again and again, or can't help immediately, it's not their fault, right? The true test of a person, business owner, significant other, whatever, is how they treat people when they're not being watched. Look at how someone treats a server or a staff member, someone who maybe screwed up. See how they treat that person. If they're rude and they're nasty for no damn reason, you probably don't want to be around that person. Now, if they have a legitimate reason, maybe the person made a slide at them or whatever, that's a different thing. But if they're just being rude because they're having a bad day and they want to take it out on somebody else, that's not good. And that's something where you should reconsider maybe what you're doing with your life, and more specifically, your money and or your business. As Mad Cat says, integrity is what you do when nobody is looking. It's true. It's true. Build on Sound says, I feel in severe depression due to constant verbal abuse from customers. I am good now, so be kind to others. Yeah. Like, you don't know what kind of shit the person on the other side of the line is dealing with, so treat them with respect. I think I've talked about this when I was getting Chinese food a couple of weeks ago. I was getting it for my birthday. That's what I wanted on my birthday. I wanted Chinese food. And the person that took the order got it completely wrong. I ordered 2 things and I ordered them large, so I could have food for the week, right? You know? Okay, order extra food. And I got smalls of the exact opposite. I ordered garlic of one thing and Szechuan of the other. Okay. They got it completely wrong on the completely wrong size. And they did it for everybody that was in that room. So they misunderstood something. And the people that were after me got livid. And I can see this person is kind of breaking down. And I finally said, hey, it's totally fine. I just want to know, is the food going to be thrown away because it was messed up? And they said, well, yeah. I said, okay, don't throw it away. Just add more food, take the small, make it a large for me, and I'll take it. Well, why would you do that? That's not what you ordered. I said, because it happens. It's still good food. I don't care. And at the end of the day, if we can't learn to forgive each other, how can we learn to forgive ourselves? And I don't know what the hell was up me with that wisdom that day, but the entire place just went dead silent because that was exactly what everybody in there needed to hear. And all of a sudden, everyone was cool. And I took what was a wrong order, but the right proportions, and walked out. It was still damn good. Give them credit for it. And I did pay the difference because they had actually charged me for a small. I don't get receipts at these places, so I didn't check. So I paid my difference and I left. They even said, you don't have to pay for the difference. You know, I said, no. You're a food business. I know that you don't make great margins because no food business does. I want to make sure you don't lose money on me. That's not my goal. My goal is to make sure that you are here the next time I'm looking for food. That's a relationship. Carl Sion says, beer is what I do when nobody is looking. You know what I'll say, as someone that has run customer service for their own company for a while, we have had some really rough customers. But at the end of the day, when we do make a mistake and we own up to it and we fix it, there's no problems. Everyone lives and learns. It's okay. Spillock says, and if you return to Amazon to Kohl's, you get a Kohl's coupon that stacks and you can give that to either mother-in-law or another family member. I don't have a Kohl's near me. But as we all know, when the economy collapses, Kohl's Cash will still be there because, you know, it's not fiat backed. Kohl's Cash. You heard it here first, kids. Invest in Kohl's Cash. This is not sponsored by Kohl's. That's literally a joke. Please don't do that. 3D printing says older and wiser, Grant. Yeah, maybe. Maybe that was just my one bit of wisdom for the year. But that's early January, so I surely hope it's not. Bill and Sons asked, but was it good? Yeah, it was still good. I was supposed to get garlic beef and Szechuan chicken. I got garlic chicken and Szechuan beef. Both still good. Both still good. I don't have a Kohl's anywhere near me. Otherwise, that's actually pretty cool. I didn't know that was a thing. Solon says, I have worked in Windows 95 tech support when between contacts in that part of my life, that was easier than dealing with custom shop customers. Yeah, right? Getting something wrong for someone happens. What is Kohl's? Kohl's is a clothing store in America, I guess, that kind of specializes in relatively affordable clothing, I guess. Sure. Now, Bill says, now I want Chinese food. You're welcome. And mistakes happen. And if we can't learn to accept that mistakes happen, you know, it is what it is. That's why the video that I want to make about my bamboo is not just 10 things I hate about my bamboo, which I promise you would get more views than 10 things I love and hate about my bamboo. I know that title would get better views because that's what people expect me to do. But I'm not going to do that because when that printer works, it's kind of crazy. And because I've never worked with clip or anything like that before, seeing something move at like 10,000 millimeters per second squared of acceleration is just mind-boggling to me. It's mind-boggling. But it's really cool. It's also really damn loud. So, like, looking at these problems, looking at quality control. Bill says, next things, 20 things I hate about my bamboo. I'd be tempted to make it a 2-video series, 10 things I love and 10 things I hate. Yeah, like I thought about that where I could drag it out for 2 episodes, but I know if I don't put them together, I'm going to get so much hate on the 10 things I hate, and then they're going to call me a hypocrite when I do the video of 10 things I love. So if I don't put them together, I'm going to get a lot of hate. Now, I could say that's good for engagement and good for the channel, and maybe that's what I'm looking for, but I think my integrity is worth more than that, and I don't want to be accused of doing some sort of clickbaity title, right? That's the thing with being a content creator, right? If it wasn't obviously clear, you've got people that are creating drama that have much bigger channels than those that aren't, right? Look at the 3-letter dude who hates prusa. Guy's got a massive channel. Why? Because he's out of his mind. He's out of his mind. And then you look at channels that are much smaller, like myself and 3D Printy, where we just like making cool stuff. We are smaller channels because we don't rely on that shock and awe. Now, don't get me wrong. The videos where I yell and rant get way better retention and way better views. Why? Because you guys like that shit for some reason. You know. Ostrich says, can I summarize the bamboo problems I've had in 30 seconds? Yeah, I've had multiple clogged hot ends, multiple extruders that have had issues. I've had a tool head board that's broken, and I've had my tool head cover, the front cover of the bamboo, fall off because of the magnets failing now 4 separate times. So that is where I'm at. Baloo says integrity as a YouTuber. Wait a minute. Okay. I am a content creator. I do not consider myself a YouTuber. I am a content creator. YouTuber sounds pretentious and shitty. Content creator actually sounds like I value the work that I do. All right? To be clear. Noobs fan sub says, I have tegrity. I do have tegrity. The Grant rants make me relatable to the average viewer. Maybe they do. Because then they're very obvious that I don't script my videos. For those of you that don't know, we don't script the videos. And if you are a member of our Patreon, you know this because you've watched all the little claps and cuts and things that I do. Because that's part of what you pay for. You pay for that behind the scenes. And if you're a $5 or more Patreon member, you have access to this file that is not publicly available yet. Don't give it away, Patreon members. I put in there. Don't be a dick. But this is my solution for Jesse spools, and it works great. Like, seriously. Here. Let me get a Jesse spool, since I have one right here. Get off of there. There's Jesse spool. It comes right off. It goes right back on without any serious issues. It does not spin easily. It grips on. It's beautiful. I love my solution. It is awesome. Mad Cat says, no script, really would have never guessed. You know, Mad Cat, getting a little cheeky for a mod right now. I'm just saying. Hit me up for the STLs. Duff, it's in the Patreon Discord. It's on the Patreon as well. Duff says, hit me up for the STLs. Oh, Duff saying he's giving them out. All right. Lightspeed says, which Jesse spools? Dustin told me they are 100% cardboard now. If you were subscribed to their monthly box, you would know that they're not. Printed Solid is having issues sourcing the actual cardboard, and they are changing the way that they do things. So this fits over their current cardboard spools and their current plastic spools because the two have the exact same diameter. So there you go. Bonus nachos. I designed it to fit both. I don't have a plastic Jesse spool all that handy, so I'm sorry. There's not one in my pile of empties. No, there isn't. So yeah, that's the thing. And just John Olson says, my last 2 subscription boxes for Printed Solid have come on plastic spools. They have, because they're transitioning back to plastic for a little bit. Mac says, do shorts as Grant Rant to boost your YouTube money. Yeah, the whole $3.28 I've made from shorts in the past 28 days. Cheers to that. To be clear, that does not even pay for one short to be edited. Let alone, now we're looking at creating up to 15 pieces of content a week. Because guess what? That's how you grow a channel. And if none of you realized, this is a business. I love what I do, but it is a business, right? We are out to make money. Sporlex says, I do wish there was a true industry standard for spools. I do too. This is a complaint that I have, and it's a complaint that I have about the bamboo, and it's why I designed my spool rings, because I like Printed Solid filament. Not only have I been able to tour their factory, if this was a video, I would say you could card to it right, we'll card to it right here, because I know exactly where to point for the cards. It's really weird, and I'm sorry, but it's my life now. But I've not only toured Printed Solid, I know Dave, I've met him, we've talked, we've had one-on-ones, I've, spent time where Dave said, here's your tour. Cool. So now go film. I'm like, what? He's like, I'm not following you. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, I want you to film what you want to film and what you want to show people. I don't want you thinking that I'm just constantly watching over you. I want you to film what you believe your people will watch. And so I did. That's exactly what I did. I filmed everything that I thought was really freaking cool and then gave it to you all. And the Patreon members got an almost 2-hour cut of that video, by the way. And including like 2.5 minutes of me dancing, which is the thing that nobody's ever seen me do on camera before. Because that's what I used to do before my back injury. I was a dancer, along with 3D printing, but my hobby was dancing. Not the kind of dancing you're thinking about. Get that out of your head. Anyway, XOSA says that wouldn't even buy a beer here. Yeah. And Duff and Carl Sion says better than a kick in the pants. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But yes, a standard spool would be amazing. And I know why Bamboo did what they did. They needed the AMS to fit inside of the printer to reduce the shipping expenses and the size of the box. I get it. But they could have just made the printer a little bit bigger and had it work with all the major spool manufacturers in the industry, because they don't work with basically any of the USA-based filament manufacturers, which kind of sucks. Kind of sucks. 2-hour videos in the NSFW channel, the Discord. No, there's no 2-hour videos in there. Not ones that I've posted, at least. I love how our mods are more troublemakers than anybody else in the comments. This is why you all are degenerates, and you all are amazing. Sporlex says, wait, did you get lifted like in Dirty Dancing? Technically, I'd have never been fully lifted like that, but there is a guy that I used to dance with, because I can lead and follow, who would do what are called aerials, where he would like kind of toss me around and stuff. There were dance moves for it and all that. So I've never seen him do it, but he could absolutely do it with a guy my size. He's like 6'6", built like a brick shithouse. His name is Jesse, and he's an awesome guy. But yeah, that's how Amber and I met. We met dancing. That was how we met. Anyways, back to spools, since this is ADHD working for you live. I do wish there was a standardization for spools. I love the Prusa spools. I love the Jessie spools, and that's because the sides spin independently. There's no glue, and that means I never have the rat tail of filament coming out the side of my spool. I love that. That is a huge benefit of why I buy printed solid spools versus others. Even further, I get really cool colors, and coming soon, I am planning on doing a custom color with printed solid. And I don't know yet if we're going to publicize it, but we are going to do it for some internal production on projects like The Politician, which is our product for filtering and producing hot air for your 3D printer to maintain chamber temperatures, which I'm very excited to show you guys about. Stay tuned for that. The video is actually going to involve a Wham Bam hot box, which will be fun. John Olson says, Grant Rant green. No, but I should do that now. It's going to be a blue that matches the 3DM blue with some metal flake in it, probably. Lightspeed says, the Protopasta spools work, but that's about it, I think. Atomic, I think, would work too, based on what you said. No, my Atomic spools don't fit. And Protopasta spools are the pure cardboard, and they'll break down when rolling like that. So you have to put rings on them, right? Polymaker spools, you got to put rings on. Polymaker's not made in the US, but you get what I'm saying. So, yeah, I don't know if it's better for us to start adopting master spools. Like, I would love to see Printed Solid come out with master spools. I would buy that shit in a heartbeat, because I hate having all of these spools. Over the holiday season, I only got rid of like half of the spools that I collected throughout the year. I had over 400 spools, empty spools, sitting in my damn house in trash bags that I put out at the end of the holiday season for people to wrap up all their holiday lights on, and people love them. But I only got rid of like half of them. And I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do? Because this is the biggest waste in this community. I've got a solution that I think might work, but it's going to involve me introducing you guys to another hobby of mine, which is music. I listen to a lot of music, and I am building a sound room, and that is something that we're going to take you guys along with on the channel, assuming those videos actually do decently well. But I have speakers that are 5 feet tall and 3 feet wide each, and we're going to have a lot of fun making that room sound a whole lot better. Anyways, Lightspeed says reach out to Greengate. He recycles all the spools he can get. That is correct, but the amount of money to send them to Rich at Greengate is just, it doesn't make financial sense. It does not make financial sense to send spools to Rich. It doesn't. And it's funny because I remember back in the day, I used to buy spools. I used to buy empty spools from 3D Printing New York, from Barb up there at 3D Printing New York, because she had 500-gram Ninja Flex spools when we were making our own filament. I would buy them for $1 a spool. It's just so funny. Gregory Pfeiffer says the speakers sound pretty good even over the phone. Oh, right, because I recorded on my phone. That's right. Most of our Patreon members I've recorded videos for them with my phone of it. Duff says, I want to see 50-gallon drum spools. Well, you can get 25-kilo spools if you want. Just having a printer that, can drag that is going to be a bitch. S3E Pretty says, I hope Printed Solid starts carrying Prusa mint refills. I would love to see that too. I should go check my footage and see if there was any in the warehouse when I went through the warehouse. I don't think that Rich does have a producer in the Southeast, but I don't know. I'll reach out to him and see, because I have hundreds of empties, and I'm going through empties at an astounding rate these days. Zolan says, I do music production, and post-mixing for others is another hobby. Been doing that longer than electronics and 3D printing. I feel that. They start selling filament at Costco, you'll see 55-gallon drum spools, Mad Cat USA says. I'd do it. Bill on Sounds asks if I know Dr. D Flow. I don't. But if, I don't know, Mad Cat DM it to me and I'll look at it when we're done filming. But the spools are the biggest problem, right? And if we don't have a consistency in this equation, it would be nice if Bamboo made a system where I could hang my spools and they would still work in the AMS. I don't know. That's a QC thing for me, but I understand why they did it. I'm not happy about it, but I understand why they did it. Let me see what else we need to cover to make this video good. How to deal with lemons. How to deal with lemons other than making lemonade by adding a shitload of sugar. No, don't do that. How to deal with lemons other than making lemonade. If you want to add some vodka, that's between you and yours. But you just got to reach out and be honest with the company and say, this is what's going on. You can state that it's something that you're not a fan of. You can say that I shouldn't be having these problems, but this isn't a defensive situation. This is a time for you to open an olive branch and say that we can work together to solve these problems, whether that is an immediate replacement and you guys take it back and do your own research, or you send me the parts and I do the replacement stuff and work on it for you. Now, as a business, I don't necessarily want to do the latter option unless I am uniquely interested in how all of this stuff works. And in the case of the bamboo, I absolutely am. So I'm willing to go through these steps before we do call it a lemon, right? I'm okay with that. But as a consumer, you might just want the whole darn thing replaced. And I totally understand that perspective. But hey, sometimes those spare parts are nice to have. You know that, I know that, and everybody else knows that too. Dr. D-Flow is the OG of 3D printing on YouTube. Pretty crazy. Huh. All right. I had no idea. I don't watch a lot of YouTube in the 3D printing space. I don't. I have the main channels that I've watched for years, right? CNC Kitchen, Maker's Muse, Tom Sadlatter, or Joel Telling, 3D Printing Nerd. Right? I have those channels that I've watched for years, but I've never really expanded out of that because a lot of my time in the 3D printing industry was spent on machines that cost more than most people's print farms. And that's not to really, sit there and toot my own horn. It's not. It's a matter of fact, right? I've worked on machines that are high 6-figure, low 7-figure marks. And that means that my understanding of how certain types of 3D printers work is higher than others. And I would like to get into that at some point where we start learning more about the high-end machines. If you guys want me to talk about that stuff, let me know, because there is a local company with some metal printers that we want to do some content with, but I don't know if you guys would want to watch it. Let me know if that's the kind of thing you want. Be curious. Baloo, what did Baloo say? Baloo said, it's more of a test run for prusa at the moment. It's not spooled as tightly, but I still like it. Daniel Cross says, Baloo, but price-wise, prusa is no alternative to DOS filament. Not with Rosa filament. I think I won't buy any Prusament soon. I mean, to be clear, I don't really buy Prusament all that often. They've got some really pretty colors, but the cost is way too high for me. I can get great filament at a printed solid for $20 to $22 a kilo delivered. Come on. That's nothing. That's so cheap. I don't see how Dave is making money, to be honest with you. Especially with American labor. I don't see how he's doing it. And while I love Prusament, and I've got Prusament spools that we print with from time to time, and I got a client that likes to pay me with Prusament, which is funny. I work with him. Instead of paying me with money, he pays me with filament, which, totally reasonable thing to pay me with. I also accept baked goods as a method of payment. If you're a good baker, and I know you are, I will exchange some help for some good cookies or a cake. Love that stuff. The fat kid in me is alive and well. Why Baldrid says, I want to learn more about $1 million printers, please. Yeah. I'm totally down with teaching you guys how to run metal printers. Teach you all about recoders and what happens when that goes wrong. If I baked, you wouldn't get it fast enough. That's true, Karen. I wouldn't. But Karen, you're the only one that sends me bamboo hairdressing cream. So, yes, the Wexonians, Wexter's Discord, bombed me with a bunch of stuff that says bamboo on it, and it is absolutely hilarious. There's more than just this, but you will see every one of the products that they sent me in the 10 things I love and hate about my bamboo video, because I'm going to put them all in there as just little secrets that only they will know about. Baldrid. Okay. Sorry. Thank you for correcting me. I don't ever want to butcher people's names, so if I get your name wrong, please correct me so I know how to say it. Spurlex says, will I be at Murph or does the Midwest scare you? I don't know if I'll be at Murph. I haven't. It's freaking Goshen, Indiana. There's nothing to do out there, and it's going to be very expensive for me to go to Murph. I am looking at the Rocky Mountain Rep Fest. I've got a reserved hotel room, but I don't know yet if it's going to be something that we can financially do or if I can handle. So we'll see. But it is currently in the books. I just don't know if it's going to be a consistent thing. So, maybe, I guess. If I go to Remurf, unless I have a paid job out there, I will not be bringing the Eva. So that is the only thing. Sparrow says, dude, Goshen is a hassle for me and I live one state over. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Remurf is, or John Olson, I think, is asking if I'm going to Remurf. Sorry. All right. So how to deal with it, right? As a consumer, reach out, right? And again, don't be like, you owe me this, you owe me that, you owe me this. It's not about that. It is not about that. It is about trying to find a solution that works. I understand if you have a need for something as a consumer, but I would also say if you have a need for something, you should plan to make sure that that need is fulfilled. Like if you're ordering filament for a job, maybe you're a hobbyist and you're making a print job for somebody. If you order filament, order more than you need. Order at least 20% more than you need and separate those orders. Because if one of your orders gets lost for some reason, you're going to be in a bad place if that was the only filament that you ordered. Now, I would say that I've done the same thing, but here's a great story, a personal story. I have toured an Amazon warehouse facility, like a sorting facility, at 11:30 at night. And I did that because I ordered 8 kilos of filament on Amazon, 2 separate orders. I paid to have them overnighted each, and I did them like 9 or 10 hours apart, right? So I paid for both of them to be overnighted. Amazon lost the box because what they chose to do is they put all 8 kilos in one box and they lost it. So I did my due diligence. I needed 3 kilos to finish the job. I made 2 orders of 4, right? I ordered way more than I needed. I said, but if I don't have the filament on time, I will not have this job and I'm going to get in trouble. The client's going to come after me. I end up doing what I do best, and I get up to the vice president of logistics for Amazon for the United States. Okay, this is not some tiny guy. I bought a share of Amazon stock. I went to their shareholder stuff. I got all the upper level people that I needed to figure out who they were. I figured out how I could contact them, right? It's just this steps that I do when I need to contact someone. And I said, here's the deal. There are 2 ways this goes down. 1, we find this box, we make it happen, and I talk all about how Amazon, even though they had a logistics failure, helped me out as a consumer. Or 2, I talk about on the news how, as a small business, I relied on Amazon to do the one thing that they're supposed to do, logistics. And not only did they failed miserably when I decided to do things in a way that should enable them to succeed. Spurlex says, I'm impressed by your top-level Karen skills. That is not a top-level Karen skill because that is research. That is not me saying, I want to speak to your manager. No. But I said to the guy, look, we have 2 options here. Both options ended in me talking about you guys. One is good, one is bad. And I said, can you tell me the last place these boxes were scanned? He said, yeah, they were scanned here at this location. I said, and I looked it up. I said, okay, I see where they're at. I said, can I get access to that facility to look myself? He said, I don't think so, but let me see what I can do. I said, all right, I'm just going to drive down there because I want to get this done as early as possible. So I'll just call me and we'll figure it out. I get the phone call saying, you're down there, right? I'm like, yep. He's like, cool. I got someone coming out for you. He's got a couple of vests. You're going inside. I said, can I film? He said, I pulled enough strings to get you inside. You leave your phone in your car. I said, okay. Done deal. Baloo says that's blackmail. It's not blackmail. Blackmail would be that I talk about only the bad thing. I'm talking about the good thing, right? This is a good story. The VP was afraid of a horse head in his bed. That rhymes. But no, he wasn't, right? He knew that this was a major fault of Amazon. When the boxes were ordered in such a way that everything should be shipped separately, and it wasn't, that's not on me as the consumer, but as me as a business, I needed that stuff to succeed in my business. And he totally understood that. We found the box. It was exactly where it should have been. But because of the carts that Amazon uses, you couldn't see it. The guy's like, yeah, if you look down here, there's no box. I said, can I walk down that aisle? He's like, yeah, go ahead. I walk down, and it is at the edge of one of these carts. These carts have, they're wire rack shelving, and they had, like, plastic liners all around them, I guess is the best way to say it. But those were opaque. And I said, is there someone that I can talk to about this? Because there's a problem that we have here that is easily solved. And they're like, yeah. So I go and talk to the person. I said, all right, why are these covers opaque? Because the box was small enough that you couldn't see it on the shelf unless you went down the aisle. And I said, and I get that. That means someone didn't look for it when they went down the aisle. But from a cursory glance, I would say it's not there either. The only reason I went down that aisle is because I needed to see for myself. I said, so why are they not clear? He's like, I don't know. I don't know why they're not clear. I said, so what is it going to take to make them clear? He said, I don't know. You got the VP's number, right? I said, yeah. He said, call him. Talk to him. Let's see what we can do about that. It is now a standard in all of Amazon's facilities. At least that's what I was told. They moved over to clear housings for all of their packages, which is pretty cool. That means not only did I get what I needed to keep my business alive, mind you, this was a $8,500 client that this material was for. And before you say I should have ordered enough the first time, I did. But I got bad rolls. I got bad spools of filament. I had 3 rolls out of 15 that were bad. That was a real issue with QC. But it was a specific color that the client had requested, so I had to get that color. So I ordered way more than I needed, just to make sure I wouldn't have more issues. Spurlex doesn't think Grant build them. I did not build them. I didn't build them. Also, says one reason to have opaque housings would be if you want to protect them from UV damage, but there tends to be a lot less UV indoors. Yeah, I don't know what the reasoning was. It was what it was. Ebaldred asks, bad how, color, diameter. I don't know what was really wrong with it. It just didn't print right. The material had no layer adhesion. Like, there wasn't a clog or anything because I could put a new spool on and it worked perfectly fine with the same G code. Do I have any of that material still? No. It just had no layer adhesion. No matter what you did, it didn't stick. Damn it, Karen. Asking if it was moist. No, it wasn't. It's surprising how easy it is to get into an Amazon distribution center. It is. Now, I had to utilize skills that I've learned in the sales industry, which is how do you get up the ladder without pissing people off, right? It's you talk with them, you have them kind of understand where you're coming from, and if they believe you, they might take pity on you and help you out. It's not Imagine Smokey and the Bandit, but instead of Coors, it's Jesse PLA from the factory to Grant. No. It's me calling Dustin. Hey, Dustin, I need this. All right, gotcha. That's great. But now actually one of our Patreon members works with Printed Solid. And I got to place a big order. So I reached out to him and said, hey, when you get into the office on Monday, I want to talk to you about an order I have. Because I got a client who needs to buy some machines and they can't buy them directly from you. So they're going to buy them through me. And I want to see if you can help me out with that. So, yeah. Daniel Cross says, I've had hollow filament. It was like a spooled tube. Huh. I never did check. Hey, Maker Viking, how you doing, buddy? That's weird. I wonder how that happens. I guess that's improper pressure on the extruder side, on the Archimedes screw for the filament. It's likely, yeah, it's got to be a pressure problem. But dealing with lemons is really kind of what sets you apart from companies, right? As a consumer, you just return it, right? As a company, we don't always have that opportunity. And I've thought about ordering another bamboo in the meantime and just asking them to give me a refund and to take this one back. But I said, I've got other machines. I don't necessarily need this machine right immediately now. It would be nice to have it, but it is not a necessity. So I don't mind waiting to see what it is like to work on the machines when I have the time versus when I don't have the time. Because let's be real. I don't care how big your company is. I don't care how nice your printers are. And I don't care how much money you charge for them. Every mechanical object at some point in its life cycle will need maintenance. And if I am the owner of that product, I might be the person that decides that they want to do that maintenance. And if I can learn how to do that maintenance on my own time, at my own pace, rather than needing to do it for an emergency project, then that is absolutely the way that I want to do it. That is how I recommend that you learn how to service machines, is when you don't need them running right now and you can learn, versus when you need them and you can't make mistakes. And yeah, the Bamboo is $1,500. It is a lot of money, and it should have worked, right? But there are people that have gotten Prusa Mark III's that are roughly the same price, right? $1,100 versus, what, $1,200 or $1,100? Like, they're pretty much in the same price point. Let's just consider them in the same price point for this specific talk, right? It makes it easier to consider them in the same ballpark. I know people personally that have had bad Prusas. I know people that have dealt with less than perfect Prusa customer support. And I know those people have gone to people that we know inside of Prusa and say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. And, you know, it's been taken care of. But there's also been suggestions made to solve the problems. I mean, Pooch, for God's sakes, got a Prusa with a bad hot end on it, and the damn thing melted. Now, I firmly believe that's more on E3D than on Prusa, but we don't know that. It went back to Prusa for testing, and we never heard about it. Somebody in a Discord that I'm a part of had the same problem, and I told them, I will buy the hot end from you. I want to learn about why this has occurred. But they ended up throwing it away before they posted about it, so I wasn't able to get it. Because I have access to laser mass spectrometers. I can find out if maybe the hot end was bad, or maybe it was a thermistor that went bad and it literally melted the hot end. I don't know. Right? I don't know. But I'm always curious to learn what and how issues cause. Duff says, once only place that gave me the most grief for gaining access was the kitchen to the cafeteria of a hog processing plant. Huh. I'm not asking about that. I'm not asking about that. Good rule of thumb, if it is designed to move, then it is designed to break. I wouldn't say it's designed to break, because that would be more of a planned obsolescence thing. I would say plan for it to break. Emergency and poor planning is expensive, as Spurluck says, and I totally agree. If you are not planning to deal with those maintenance items before they become a necessity, then you're not taking things seriously. Now, I would say that I've planned for Bamboo failures. I've got 2 spare hot ends, 0.4. I have 2.6s. I think I have 1.8, because, like, 0.8's never clogged. Come on. Now, it could clog on the cold end, but it never clogs on the nozzle. All right? They never had a 0.8 clog on me ever. I've got a spare extruder. I've got a spare AMS feeder. I've got spare cutters. I've got spare wipers. I got all the wear items on a Bamboo. I bought them when I bought the printer, so that I have this extra part inventory, so that if I do have something go wrong, I can replace with my inventory and then have Bamboo replace my inventory. That is how you do business, right? As Duff says, oh, okay, before we get to Duff, also says, plus you are now in a position to help others with the same problem on your channel. Yeah, but that's not why I do that stuff. Like, I do learn about maintenance because I don't want to find myself in a position where I needed Amazon to do their job and they didn't. I learn about it so that when it comes time for me to do my job and maintain my printer fleet, that I know what I'm doing and don't make mistakes, because those mistakes not only cost me time, effort, and money, at some point, they start costing me my sanity. Because those of you that have ever dealt with a problem printer that you just couldn't figure out the problem for, and it ended up being something that was really stupid, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But that's okay. It is okay to have those problems from time to time. But it's how you learn from that and say, yeah, you know, I should add this to my list of things to check. And that way, next time, you don't make the same mistake. That is what is called learning. And if you don't learn, you are bound to make the same mistakes over and over again. Gotta cut that down because that was a piece of gold. I'd have to click 2 buttons for the cut down, so sorry that like immediately takes my distraction off of what I'm talking about, because I gotta hit the buttons. Sparlik says reactive, not proactive. Yeah, you want to be proactive and not reactive. If you are reactive, that means you are taking a problem and making a solution. If you are proactive, you are looking at what could go wrong, finding the solutions before it becomes a problem, and then learning how to do it efficiently when it does become a problem. And as Duff says, $100,000 cars still have problems. In fact, I would tell you that most $100,000 cars have more problems than the $20,000 cars. But it's because they have more shit to go wrong in them, right? So, just saying. Just saying. And as Matt Cat says, 62 watching, only 41 likes. A like is free. So is a subscribe. Click it if you don't mind. Greatly appreciate your support. You know, we're all about that stuff here. As Duff said, I said in the last stream, at least Bamboo and Prusa are not doing the liability math before issuing a fix, unlike automotive. Yeah. If you don't know the story of the Ford Pinto, look it up. Ford did the math and said that it is cheaper for us to pay out the wrongful death lawsuits than it is for us to actually fix the problem of the Ford Pinto exploding when it gets into a rear-end collision. It was a known problem in those cars, and Ford decided that it was just easier to pay out the wrongful death suits than it was to recall every vehicle and fix it. Right? Companies will say, you know, we can fix this. Let's work together. Because at the end of the day, collaboration and cooperation is better than opposition. That's just pure business. It is always better to work together than it is to fight for essentially the exact same thing. It really, really is. So, what else we got here? Oh, also says I've clogged a 0.8 and also a solid metal filament. Yeah, I guess you could do that. I have not printed much with the Virtual Foundry filament, and I do want to get some. I am always excited to mess around with new stuff. Projects in Dad's Garage says, this stream and Steve's are always at the same time. Wish I could watch both. Who is Steve? I don't know Steve. You can watch both. It's going to be weird hearing us talk over each other. But yeah, stuff says cost versus to fix, cost versus a lawsuit. Zolan says, the printer I am currently working on, I threw across the room in frustration a few months ago. Dude, I feel that, right? Like, there's a reason my Ender 3v2 literally just sits in my garage and collects dust. Why? It is a printer that I bought solely for the YouTube channel and will likely never put into the business because it is not reliable enough, right? Wow. Okay. It was apparently his Voron V0 said it almost got it working right now. Just replacing one of the part cooler fans at the moment. Last night they printed a few Cali Dragons. Hey, nice. Nice. Didn't the American postal trucks have a fire hazard too? I don't know. I know it's a thing, right? There have been a lot of times that companies have chosen this, right? As a small business, I don't get this option, but I also don't make parts that are mission critical like that. We don't have that kind of insurance. And 2, it's just not the kind of thing that I want to do, right? We could have the option to make a lot more money and do parts that could make or break a project that could result in people getting hurt. I don't ever want to be responsible for the life or death of others. I say that, but someday I might want a family, so that would be the life of others. I don't want to be the person responsible for end up hurting somebody else because of something that I did wrong. That's not fair. That's why I really don't drink, period, but I will never drink and drive. I don't drive when I'm very tired, right? I'll pull over and take a nap if I have to. I'll get somebody else to drive, or I just won't go. right? Because I don't want to be the person that's responsible for that. You know, we always talk about how, you know, oh, it's a holiday, better watch out for drunk drivers. And it becomes a funny thing, right? And in Florida, it is often that I'm driving on the highway and they got the signs that are blinking saying wrong way driver reported. And I'm like, what the actual hell am I supposed to do about this? Is this person just wrong and they got on the wrong side, or are they actually trying to hurt themselves and or others? It's Florida men doing Florida men things, but you know, you guys understand what I'm talking about here. C builds as a Voron team member. Okay. Yeah, I have not built a Voron yet. That's in my future now that the Voron community is considerably better. Filament Stories here. Courtney's here. Says the V0.1 is such a nightmare with the build nuts. I almost threw mine across the room too. I guess that's a thing. I have never really worked on a Voron before. I'm going to be looking at one hands-on on Wednesday, which I'm very, very excited about. Zolan says, day job before this one, I had to design proactive monitoring systems that if they fail could be life or death. I get it. As an employee, you might not have options like that. And like when I was working at a makerspace before I got injured, it was my job to put together manuals and protocols that would ensure that people wouldn't get hurt. But I will tell you, we had a saw stop, so like the table saw is really not all that dangerous, right? You might get a little nick, but you ain't cutting your arm off. Chop saws and lathes are the two most dangerous tools in a shop outside of the person that's clicking on the power button, right? And outside of really good training, there's no way for me to ensure that somebody was not going to get hurt doing something. But that training is what we could use to validate to the insurance companies that, yes, these people know what they're doing. And if they mess up, it's not always on us. Now, ultimately, it was decided that having business members provide a certificate of insurance was a much better move. And I agreed with that. I said, you know, that's actually a great idea. Let's do that too, along with the training. And we had levels of training that I was going to be putting together that was beginner, intermediate, expert, and mastery. And mastery actually required me to work on the machines first to learn more about them before I could teach somebody to be a master themselves. And the goal there was at the mastery level, you would be certified to teach other people. It's pretty cool. That to me builds a good ecosystem for a makerspace. But it's also a good thing to do for your own shop, right? Those of you that have a shop at home that have tools, right? Don't go putting the wood cutting blades onto your angle grinder, right? Don't go using a chainsaw with shorts on, even though I did that yesterday. Don't do that. My chainsaw is electric. It stops instantly versus a gas chainsaw, which will cut through your leg, right? There are companies that are designed to handle those life or death situations. And I will tell you, a $200 pair of chainsaw pants is way, way better than going to meet Amber, right? ICU nurse and all that. John also said, I saw more than one person back on school get hurt using a spindle sander. Everybody respected big saws. What harm could a spindle sander do? Broken knuckles. Was that because it would pull the hand down as the spindle's going up and down? Although that would be an oscillating spindle sander. That would be a little bit different. I don't know. I don't have a spindle sander. I am looking at building, this will be a 3D printing project. You guys are getting like info on some of the projects I want to do. Doing a really like a 12-inch disc sander that I want to build via 3D printing. Osterreich says, do electric chainsaws stop when you have death grip on the power switch? No, they do not. No, they do not. Dustin says, if I grow out my beard a bit more, I'll be certified for a gas-powered chainsaw. Yeah, I might be. But I like electric tools. Sorry. Torque. Yeah, table saws, routing tables scare me the most. They look so unassuming. Dude, yeah. There are a lot of tools that we use every single day, like dados. Dados in America, if you live in the European Union or the UK, gotta say that now, you've never used a dado. A dado is a stack of saw blades that make your table saw wider so you can cut a wider, cut at a time. Those are illegal in the EU and the UK. It is completely banned. because they are so unbelievably dangerous. Like, unbelievably dangerous. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to strap more weight to a motor that is really hard to stop. SawStop made a specific dado kit. I used to have a SawStop blade. Unfortunately, it is now with my former employer because we hung it up. You want to show what that looks like. And the saw is embedded into aluminum. Imagine what that does to your hand. Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to read your comment out loud, John, but I read that. I feel that. Yeah, you've always wondered why you don't see it, Baloo, because they're especially in Germany, they're not legal. You should see the old dado blades wobble. Yeah. Hooray for the UK being sensible. You know, there are a lot of things in the EU that I believe are sensible, and the UK. But that is because a lot of times they're choosing people over profits. And as a business, if you start looking at, and this is why I don't think I would ever do a publicly traded company, because you are legally, fiduciarily required. Is that the right word? I don't know. Required to do what is best for your shareholders, not as what's best for your customers, what is best for your shareholders. And I never want to find myself in a position where I have to choose between just paying out wrongful death suits because that is cheaper than admitting fault and having my stock price tank. But QC, for what the bulk of us deal with, is way smaller than that, right? It's copper wires that might have issues. It's power supplies from Meanwell that might have a bad cap in them. It's motherboards that might blow a fuse. It's, probes and sensors that don't work. It's not always problems. And when you look at the severity of what you're dealing with, while your problem might sound like it is absolutely the worst thing in the world to you, I promise you, it could be a lot worse. Be kind to those around you when you are dealing with lemons. Be totally okay with talking about it publicly. But don't be accusatory and don't be rude and don't make statements that you can't back up. At the end of the day, your word is the only thing that you have at some point. And if you're found out to be a liar, that company or that person will never trust you again. When it comes to lemons, it happens to everybody. You might think that you're unique. Unfortunately, you're probably not. But that doesn't mean that you should be the one that creates problems. Look at creating solutions, because at the end of the day, those solutions help more than just you. And I think that that is really what exemplifies making awesome. That is really all that I have for you guys. I think that is a great place to end it. I think that just fits really, really well. And we're coming up on 2 hours. And I did not know that I've been talking for 2 hours. But I think that really covers exactly what we need to talk about, right? That QC is going to be a problem. You need to be clear. You need to be communicative. You need to be nice. And meet whatever you're getting back. If you're getting someone who's being very, very nice to you, then you should be nice to them. If they're being a dick, rule number 2, baby. There are 2 rules in life. My father, this is my dad's rules, and they're great. Rule number 1, don't be a dick. Rule number 2, if you're going to be a dick, be a big one. But you only enact rule number 2 when you can no longer do rule number 1. And if someone has chosen to operate in rule number 2, and you have attempted rule number 1 and it's not working, then meet them where they are. Because that's all you can do. That's all you can do. You can try to kill them with kindness, but if someone's on a warpath, it's not going to work, right? I've had customers that have gone on warpath with me, and I say, you know what? I'm giving you your money back, but I'm never working with you again. Goodbye. Hang up the phone, process the refund, block them. Done. Because they wanted to play rule number 2. I was attempting to play by rule number 1, and it was just not worth my heartache, headache, or bullshit any further. And we don't have any 1-star Google reviews. Why? Because I treat people with respect. Be respectful. Be kind. Be generous. Be forgiving. Be understanding. Be human. That's right, lizard people, be human. But that's it, guys. This is season 3, episode 21, which I think is number 125, which is just insane how many freaking episodes of this podcast we've done. But stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. Be kind to each other. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one.